Hello, Anyieth. It's,
Hello, Char.
it's an honor to be with you this evening. And um, we have been talking about love and leadership. And uh, I think it's an important subject for us now uh, in these times that we're experiencing within ourselves and in the world. And um, so I wanted to have a conversation. I also know that we're going to be welcoming people to join us for an extended conversation in Mozambique in October of this coming year and 2025 um, and so I think that it's just it's interesting to me that this is where we are and that we have this opportunity to be together and to be engaging these conversations and creating them. And so I think we had talked about love and leadership and what is what does that mean? What does that mean? Because some of us don't even know what love is, right? And some of us don't know what leadership is, and or how to maybe we think we know what it is, but don't know how to enact it, or we think we know what it is, but don't know what it means to do it in a way that benefits everyone. So, so I just wanted to let's start there with our ideas and thoughts around love and leadership. And
Thank you. Uh, yeah, this is a very interesting time to be talking about love and leadership and the lack of love and leadership, or the difference between the leadership's models that we have right now and perhaps what we want, what we need as people, as humanity. And I think both love and leadership both have that difficult sort of definition. You have like the dictionary definitions um of both love and leadership, of love and leadership just being very simple and um let's look at the definition of love. You know, I think that it can be very, it's just a deep feeling, an intense feeling of deep affection. That's the definition of love. And the definition of
wow.
leadership would be the action of leading a group of people or an organization. But I think what we're talking about is deeper than that. You know, it's more of a feeling, right?
Mhm.
Love is a feeling. Love is something that if you haven't felt it, you may not know it. But once you feel it without someone coming with a definition, you know it.
Yeah.
You know, the things you're able to do for someone, with someone, the things you're able to sacrifice, the things you're able um, to trust in, to believe in, the trust that you have, the possibilities, the opportunities, the growth, the certainty, I think, uh, could be as the definition of love. You know,
Mhm.
you feel certain, you feel sure, you feel able, you feel limitless.
Yeah.
And leadership could be similar. I was doing some research on it, and some people say leadership is a relationship. And I like that,
Yeah, it is. For
because
sure.
leadership,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
if we think about it, leadership from the individual to leading a group
Yeah.
is is a relationship.
Yeah.
What kind of do you love your do you love your leaders, or do you hate them, right? How many people hate their bosses? How many people love their bosses? How many people love their um, themselves even. What do I lead myself to do? Do I lead myself to do something that I'm proud of? Do I lead myself to do something that I'm ashamed of?
Mm,
Um, and leadership within families. I love my dad. I'm proud of him. My
mm,
mom, my support and my biggest advocate. Or I hate my parents. My parents are the worst. Or so it's like we see leadership everywhere. And so what is leadership? What is leadership?
right.
Um, and then the ideas that we have of leadership, right? So I think in this we can talk about the mind and the heart.
Mhm.
In the mind, we think leadership, if you ask people, typically the leaders that people would think about would be the strong leaders, the domineering leaders, and this is what uh Gian Piero uh Petriglieri talks about. He talks about leadership and the dominant leadership being the model of leadership that we all know, that we all believe what leadership is. You have to be tough, you have
Mm,
to be strong, you have to be ready to make hard decisions, you have to be ready to do what's necessary. This kind of you have to be charming or charismatic or a little bit selfish, a little bit kind of like
mm,
my way or the highway or my this is what I think, this is what I've decided, um versus the leadership that we need, you know
yeah.
the love leadership, the love leadership, the leadership. And he talks about, if you ask people what is a leadership, that's their response. They respond to the dominant leader. But if you ask them how what 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 leadership, what's your experience with leadership? People talk more from the heart.
Mhm.
Ah, leader that I heard. They
Oh,
were so
yeah.
inspiring. They gave me so much hope. They made me believe. They made me trust. So it's all these other feelings, and then it ends up being, yeah, it's a relationship that you have. Are you afraid of your leader, or are you following your leader? Are you following out of fear, doing
Mm,
what they're saying out of fear, or are you doing it because you truly love and truly believe, that you're driven to that?
yeah.
uh that could be some definitions or feelings around what leadership is. And then when you put the love and leadership together, it's that relationship, right? That beautiful relationship that you want to nurture, that is also, but is it individual? You love a leader, and how limiting is that? Or do you love a type of leadership
Yeah.
that can, you know, start from how you treat yourself, how you treat your family, how your family treats itself,
Mm,
with each other, then, growing into
yeah.
a leadership that, and also I come from a country or countries where we have individuals leading, and individuals saying only me, or individuals who've been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years in leadership.
Yeah.
And as a person who's grown up watching some of the same people leading for for decades and decades,
Mm,
then you start to think, well, what happens when you are no longer here? What will
right.
happen when you say, then are we forsaken? Should we just mourn you? Or is the leadership supposed to kind of like, you know, like how resilient is it when we focus on a one leader, kind of model? This person is the one that has the leadership qualities. Um, And in my country, in South Sudan, that's what happened. We had a very beautiful leader, and he died suddenly in a helicopter crash. And that was one of my first feelings, and that was 20 years ago. I can't believe it was 2005, 20 years ago. But my feeling was, what now?
Yeah.
And until now, even the people that surrounded him are the ones in leadership, but the leadership is different. There is no hope. There is no peace.
Mm,
There is no love. There is a lot of fear. There's a lot of dominance. There's a lot of silencing. And yet they still have a lot of support. And it's because we are thinking about it rather than feeling it,
right.
you know? And then it ends up being a trap for everybody, including the leader who's domineering.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot. Um, thank you, Anyieth. I think that when when I'm thinking about the like the definitions of love and leadership and how you were speaking about how it begins here inside and I think that our first leadership is in our communities and in our families and in our homes um, and that you know it was so interesting. You had sent me the Gabor Mate video and how he just talks about how our brain is shaped and our brain is made in those formative years and so I think that a lot of our leadership really starts there with those first leaders and one of the things that I've seen or experienced is the difference between this is a group of people caring for the children and the children have all their the people around them and the resources that they need and there's people who are caring for them and watching out for them and it's more than just two parents it's more than that you know there's like an uncle or there's extended family or there's aunties or grandmothers or adopted grandmothers and so we have these communities and in those communities there there's a leader everywhere they look there's someone to lead them or to hold them or guide them or assist them and that wants to protect them and care for them. So I think that one of the so there's like this kind of interesting balance of I want to experience personal leadership within myself, but then to see it in the family. But really, it's like both of my mothers taught me that we care for one another's children. We take care of the children for 7 generations coming and 7 generations behind us. We take care of each other um, and I just have this belief that like all children are my children. Any child that's in the room with me is my responsibility to care for and to make sure that that child stays safe and I wish that I really pray that that can happen one day where everyone feels like takes full responsibility for the health and well-being and future of the children. But when I think about love and leadership, Angeles Arian was one of my mentors, and she developed something called the Arms of Love. And when I think of love, and when I think of leadership, I think of who do I want to follow? Like, who do I, who would I, and the people that I follow are people that are creating something. They're creating something. They're also there was at the university where I was the spiritual director for many years, there was a Dr. Church was the president for a long time, and he remembered conversations that he'd had. He respected his commitments. But I would watch him interact with people, and it was just so warm and you always felt like he could be in a room full of so many students, and there's, maybe there's 3,000 students that are there at the same time, but he would be with one student and they just felt like they were the only person in the entire universe. And I just loved witnessing and watching him and being with him as a leader because of his like gift for authentic engagement and authentic curiosity. But also, he remembered. Like he could meet someone once and he would remember their name um, and things about their life. And so even though he was the president of the school, you never felt like he was the president of the school. You know what I mean? You always felt like he was with you in it, and his care and his warmth. The other thing, Anyieth, that was really interesting was his accessibility. And anyone, anytime, any student could walk into his office at pretty any time of day. I mean, of course, unless he was with someone else in a meeting, but he was accessible. And that was just something that I admired. I learned that from him, was just like, make sure that I'm accessible, stay after class, make sure that people can have a conversation with me, have phone calls. So I think there's also that, I love that ideal around how love is an action word. And I think that leadership and love, like, they need each other, because what is leadership without love? What is leadership without care? You know? So I think the other thing that came to my mind is Angelus used to talk about the three global fears that people have. And the three global fears are plague, war, and a deepening crisis in leadership. And we are really experiencing that now. And so I think there's something about love, and how love heals the fear, how love soothes, and love changes fear. And I know that we need to, in our own little world, find the energy to give that love. But that's not easy. That's warrior
Mm.
work.
Yeah, fear and love. And I think when you have real love, yeah, you can challenge the fear. You can challenge the fear rather than operating just from the fear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when you were talking about who do I want to follow, as you were talking about your the president of the university, I was also thinking about the CEO of Center for Mind Body Medicine,
Mm,
where I practice. And we went to South Sudan together to do some training there. And he was sitting with, and I actually, we have a photo of it where he was sitting and talking to some soldiers. And the way that he was listening in this photo is just the way I want to listen to people all the time, like just being fully present.
mm.
And, even though he has a lot of experience and met so many people and, so much older, sort of like the awe and wonder of what somebody's gonna say, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the newness. of what you may experience in that presence. It was a huge teaching for me. And also, it's the only time that I really enjoy having conversations with people is when I've become fully present and fully, you know, fully listening. And also when you're heard, right? And so when you speak to him and he listens, and I think leadership definitely is this opening of possibilities, this inspiration that opens the world up to all the possibilities and opportunities, things that you'd never imagined before.
Mm,
You know, that's beautiful leadership. That is, you know, even, as a child, being as you were talking about experiencing leadership for the your first as your first experiences is a child with a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety about, either first steps or trying something, trying a new food or doing something for the first time. And the parents giving the child the view, right, to see the
mm,
possibilities and the opportunities and instilling belief in them, so this is a beautiful thing, I think,
believe, I love that.
that we need to nurture also what it is that is actual true leadership rather than dominance, right?
Yeah,
Law of jungle, uh, you know, rather than that, because we do grow up in a way that, because it's very loud. This domineering leadership is very loud, it's very flashy, it's very it's got glitz and glam, it's got power, it's got like another another form of awe or wonder. It's just like, everyone stops and, a
so
leader drive the road with big entourage and sirens, and it's just like all these bells and whistles. But without that, are they real leaders, right?
right.
Without that, can
Mhm.
they just start talking and you feel all of that? The connection, the trust, the belief, if they don't have all of the power to put around them, you know,
Yeah,
open my car door, everything must stop, traffic must stop when I'm traveling. Everyone must stand up when I walk in the room. Like without all of that, is
right.
there is there is there real leadership? You know, and it's in just as I'm speaking about that, I remember my dad because he was a diplomat, a career diplomat, and very, loved his job and respected his job and all of that. And he used to say to me about the the integrity of the office of the president or the integrity of the office of a minister or a state, you know, head of secretary of state, as you would say in the US, but or secretary of a specific department, right?
Mhm.
Um, and you know, there is something about honoring specific positions, right? So that's why, and you stand up when someone of a specific nature comes in, or you call them a specific name, Your Excellency, Mr. President, Miss Madam President, or uh, Your Royal Highness, or whatever it is, right? But I think that we got lost in the glitz and glam of it all. Like it became just that without the integrity, without the other parts of it. And I think this is the risk of people all the time is that we can start well with good intentions, but somewhere we get lost in the things of the world,
Mhm.
right? Rather than the duty of the job or the service of the job or the, that we were entrusted,
Yeah.
that we're custodians of a specific thing,
Yes. Yeah.
even the earth, that we're custodians, we're visitors to this earth, rather than just take, destroy, 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 you know, create waste and just not really think too much about it, you know. And I think it's important that we constantly remember the leadership that we think is not the leadership that we need. It's not the leadership it's not where it's at. It's not the leadership
Mhm.
that, it's not that leadership, just because we have it doesn't mean this is it.
Right. And I think you'd said when we were talking earlier, you talked about, it's like the leadership we know versus the unknown,
Yeah.
and stepping into the unknown, and, you know, being able to do that versus keeping the same old familiar hierarchical, I mean, that's my words, but, um, this hierarchical system of power over or dominance. But, I just wonder what it would be like to have a system where it was encouraging and where everyone felt encouraged and uplifted. Like, I just think about an uplifted culture, or where, yeah, I think about that. And instead of this kind of extractive, um, just pulling these everything out of everything, including people, like the energy and the jewels and the treasures instead of celebrating the gift and allowing people to give their gift in a way that feels good to them, right? Like how,
Yeah.
and we're all all these migrations of humans, like we're all migrating, and we're like birds and we've always been migrating. And um, so these migrations of human beings, and it's important that we're all migrating, and that we're going to other places and falling in love and making babies and making families and bringing more energy to different places in the earth with different peoples from different places. I think there's just something that is, it's just really important that we're not, um, turning away from the, I don't know about acceptance, but the truth of belonging. You know, I mean, I found that wherever someone is called, is there's a belonging there, you know, and that belonging might be about safety, or it might be about protection, but it also might be about, this place is calling me. And so there's something about the truth of that belonging, and that there has to be that container of safety and care, and honor and respect. And I think that the collaboration of all of us, like we can there's a collaborative leadership. Um, Even though people will have different areas of expertise about different subjects and different things, and like your dad, right? It's There's not a lot of people who could have done that job. He really needed to be in that position, leading in that way. Um, and so there's different people that lead at different things because they have experience and it's their interest, and they feel they've migrated there. That's their migration, um, and that's where they land. And so I think that if there can be, I think that there's this. I don't want to be idealistic. I don't want to be, I want to be optimistic and realistic at the same time if I can be. Um, but that we could have counsel process. That's something that I saw with my mother's. That's something that I've seen. You know, they told me that there's a counsel, and you talk about it until you figure your shit out. You know, you talk about it, and then if you don't figure it, you continue to have conversations until it gets worked out. You know, but
Yeah.
it's collaborative.
Yeah. And I wonder how much of today's leadership really is collaborative, you know?
That's a great.
Because even within leadership where you have advisors, sometimes you wonder, whether they really are listened to, or they're just, what do you call it, sycophants? People who are just there to say, yes, 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 you're right.
Yeah.
To give the veneer of checks and balances or counsel. But it's really just one person, or it may not even be the one person who's in the leadership front. It could be other people behind that just are doing, the string pulling and the pushing for many different reasons or purposes. Um,
I think
and I,
question.
hmm?
I think that's an important question.
Yeah, so how, and it's true, not everyone is good at everything.
Yeah.
And that's how we need collaborative, because if we put everything in one basket, what does that look like?
Hmm.
You know, I guess we do have also people who work together, different departments, different this, different that, but how collaborative is it? How inspiring is it? How I have a lot of feelings that we all know what we need. We all know what we need. We
Yes.
all know what we
Yes.
want. We're all living in this world. We all have the same desires,
Mhm.
you know. We've had a lot of leaders in different eras wanting to lead everyone and everything.
Yeah. So absurd. I mean, it's just like, wow.
Sure.
That's some
It
huevos
is
right
there.
there, man.
Yeah. There's a documentary here in Mozambique that was made by some of our friends. It's called Maputo, and it's about the capital city of Mozambique. And it's called the ethnography of a divided city. And
Mm,
in it, it just has the city from the perspective of all these different people, from a woman working in the market, a young person in a rural, not a rural, in a township type thing, uh, a young woman in the same sort of middle class people working in big businesses, construction, or small business, and a fisherman. And the fisherman was, on his boat, and he shows these cannons that were put there during World War II to fight against
interesting.
the Nazis, right? And he was like, yeah, there was a guy at that time, he wanted to rule the whole world. And he was like, that guy, he didn't think well, because how can one person rule the world? And here's this fisherman just thinking, how on earth is this person who I don't even know his name,
Right.
and was from way over there, and here are all these tanks, these cannons, aimed at the sea to attack in case it comes to try and rule here. But it's like, it is absurd.
Yeah.
It is absurd when we really think about it, you know. It is absurd. And what is it for? What is it really for?
Yeah.
It's that emptiness that you're trying to fill, this as the TED Talk from Gabor Mate, and though it was many years ago, talking about addiction, the power of addiction, but the addiction to power,
Yeah.
and that addiction is not really the addiction, it's what's missing. Why the addiction?
Mm.
Don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain,
Mm.
right? What's with the pain? What is the addiction trying to fill or trying to resolve or trying to heal? And often enough, it's love and connection or lack of love and
Yeah.
lack of connection. It's just gives you these hormones that gives you immediate gratification, but very short-lived. And then you think you want more because we are more people. We want more, 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 you know? And the same thing happens with power. So once you have a taste of power, just like any other addiction, it's like, well, I want more of it. But power to do what with, right? Because it's a power.
Right.
It's a power. It's something to use, to create, to inspire, to transform, to provide possibilities and opportunities for everyone, not just for yourself. But this addiction, so it's the same. So, and it really goes to show how human we all are, how human we all are, from the fisherman just, getting fish, Indian Ocean, relaxed, doing what he's doing day by day, fishing every day, to the person trying to take over the world. It's the same, same sort of, either need or satisfaction sounds like, satisfaction versus the emptiness,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of, yeah, soul work, soul searching, digging deep to figure out why the addictions,
Yeah.
because when I look at leadership in the world right now, I'm like, yeah, these are just a bunch of addicts.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're so old, but you want to lead.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
you're so you've been a leader before, but you still want to lead. You didn't do it last time, but you think you still want to lead. You've been leading for 30 years and you still want to lead. It's crazy. It's intense. And in all of this, we have forgotten what the leadership is for.
Right.
Because right now, all I see is the politics of it all, and the personalities and the stories and the made up stories, you know, and the anger and the fear and the, you know, really digging into people to make them feel. So we talked about this earlier, this feelings that people have. Most people, our world is not well.
Right.
Our world is not well. People are not well. And it's a crisis. It's crisis level
Yeah.
on societies, individuals and societies, and therefore the world. We're not well. And we need to heal. And how do we heal? We heal mainly through connection and love
Mhm.
and addressing the loneliness that we all feel. And when, in mind body medicine, we talk about just, yeah, loneliness being the biggest killer in the world, for sure. But also when you start to feel stuck in yourself, you feel one emotion more than the others, and eventually it becomes the only thing you feel, right? So
Yeah.
if you're angry and hostile and you're living in hostility and you're stuck in hostility, then you don't really feel everything else. If you're sad and
Mm.
depressed, you don't, if you're depressed, which is the stuckness of being sad, the sadness and stuckness, You don't have the range of emotions that we actually are endowed with, right?
Yeah.
You don't feel the joy, you don't feel the excitement, you don't feel concern, you don't feel anything else, you just feel the depression, if that's where you lean towards, right? If you are anxious, eventually you start becoming paranoid.
Mm,
If you are always full of joy, you end up becoming hysterical and just being stuck. So you don't get the range of emotions. You don't get the range of the other emotions. And when you don't get the range of other emotions and these leaders come and inspire another emotion, and typically the dominant leader is invoking fear, is invoking anger
mm.
and frustration and, you know, and so when you feel something else, then you feel more alive because that is to be living. To be alive is to feel your range of emotions, a range of emotions. And if you don't feel the range of emotions, but then someone comes and makes you feel one or two things extra, then yeah, you're like, wow, I like this person.
I have another couple of feelings happening right now.
Different, you know? I think, yeah, that's why I feel like this is because that person did this to me in a very roundabout way.
Right.
True or not true, you know? So it's
Real or imagined. Yeah.
real or imagined, you
Mhm.
know, but what does it look like to have a leader that gives you the range of emotions
Hmm.
through the range of possibilities and opportunities that that leadership will bring? And I think a good leader is someone that can, yeah, inspire people to see something that may not be there,
Mm.
you know, yet, but shows the opportunity for those things. You know, because we live in a world where we think in twos. Uh, Conservative, Democrat,
Right.
or Labor Conservative, or here Frelimo and Venancio. It was Podemos. It was which is it means we can. It's the opposition, but now it's an individual, you
Mm.
know, or in South Sudan, you know, SPLM or SPLMIO, SPLM in opposition, you know, so it's like we think like that. And, you know, people used to come to me in South Sudan and say, who are you backing? And I'm like, neither. I think neither. Cats, right? I think they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we have to challenge ourselves to think deeper and more. You know, it could take time, but we have time, kind of. You know, I mean, time is endless. Time is just going and going and going and going and going. And we need to start changing properly for to actually make an impact. You know, so I think sometimes oppositions are very reactive, very patchwork, fixing the thing that's there, you
Mhm.
know, very logical. Sure.
Yeah.
But the mind is our problem.
Yeah.
We need more heart,
Yeah.
right? And the heart is easy to connect with. You know, we do connect with people via the heart. If you listen empathetically, if you listen joyfully, if you listen and be present with people, you connect with the heart. If you do something with them, you connect. If you help them with something, you connect with the heart. So that connection is there and it's always a possibility. But we're also creatures of habit,
Yeah.
also creatures of habit. And so our world is full of that, full of the habit, full of the way it's been, the way it's always been, the way it will always be. But it's like, that's not how it is. Even the seasons are changing, for goodness sake.
For goodness sake. Yeah. They are. Even the seasons every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like I keep my eyes keep resting on But well, one of the things that's true is that we need to take care of us. We need to take care of all of us. And how can we start seeing, how can we start having a we thought form instead of an I thought form? Like, how can we start thinking of us instead of me, or yeah, we instead of I, or I mean, it's a rhetorical question, but but if we could begin to recognize that conflict is something we'll all experience every day, usually some point in the day, um, and and that I like what Terry Real says. He says that uh, I believe it is relationships are about repair, you
Okay.
know,
Yes.
and so I think our future is in that ability to repair, which requires maturity and the ability to not be reactive, but to act and not react, or to respond, or to, and not, instead of responding, maybe just to even have some forethought and make a suggestion ahead of time and right,
Yeah.
collaborative on the collaborative side of things. Um, but I think addressing this conflict, addressing conflict and addressing the pain, um, acknowledging the pain. I appreciated what you were saying about um, people being heard and seen, and what happens when we're heard and when we're seen. Healing happens, you know. We become different. We're changed when we're really seen and heard, um, and I've appreciated so much when we were there before the power of the groups and everybody. We're all doing the work together, like not, and there's like, I don't know how many people were in each group, but all of us were making our genealogy, all of us were writing the deaths, the addictions, the losses, the disease. Like, we were all doing that. There wasn't one person that was doing it and, you know, other people witnessing it, or it, we do it together. And there's nothing like that. Like, I saw so many things. I had things in common with everyone in the group. We all had so much in common just in our geneagrams, you know?
Mhm.
And so it really creates that connection and that vulnerability and honesty, um, creates that connection. And I think that that's where we must, well, I'm not saying it's a solution for everything, but I think that connection is the solution for, uh, and collaboration is the solution for our ability to have love and leadership acting together, you know? So,
Yeah. I think, yeah, this conflict part and the challenge, the true challenge, like we can talk a lot about the ideas of leadership or how the world could or should be, and but the reality of it, of course, is there, the reality of, conflicts between, us and individuals, conflict within families,
mhm,
conflict amongst friends or within communities or work relationships, that those things are real.
yeah.
Um, but in terms of the connections that I've been able to make lately through the mind body work, really taught me about the gray spaces, the areas I don't know, the things I don't know, the things I'm not privy to yet. And at least gives me an opportunity to just imagine, even if I'm having a conflict with someone, that there is a missing piece. There's a piece missing. Um, and also that I'm still growing and I'm still healing and uh, needing to fix all those things that I also missed out on as a kid and didn't experience enough of that I needed so that I can be fully matured, right? And respond in ways. And it's true. Like I used to say that to my parents or to my aunt and uncle, where I also spent half of my life growing up, is, you go back home and they trigger you, and then you feel like a kid again, right? It's like, why is that?
Yeah.
But, and it just goes to show that we have a lot of work to do, and which is also an opportunity for, not an opportunity for, see, you're a hypocrite, but more like, let's grow together.
Yeah.
And this is also, I think, an opportunity for looking at the possibilities in this world. Is that, do we need a punitive world where
Mm,
people are punished for the things that they do because of the way they see the world?
mm,
You know, it's hard. It's a very hard space I feel that we're in right now. So many people doing so many things for the sake of ideology, whether or not one person believes or not, you know. But these circles, these mind body circles, sitting with people doing genograms together and realizing where, wow, I had no idea you'd experienced that,
mm.
or wow, like me, you've experienced that, or unlike me, you've experienced, or I have experienced this. Is an opportunity for us to connect and to also delve more deeply into those gray areas, the unknown,
Mhm.
you know. Um, and I think the unknown is where we will find our answers. And we always say fear the unknown. This is, the world sometimes people in the world get into habits of
Yeah.
repeating certain things. And I know you always teach as well about how words matter and words have power. And I believe that, if you go around, and when I was young, I used to watch all these movies in Tanzania. I was in Tanzania. We used to watch all these American movies. And it was all like, so dog eat dog world. And I used to go look at my dogs and be like, I don't understand that.
What are you talking about? Doggy dog. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's
I
hysterical.
used to get so confused. And then lately, then I felt like, yeah, my spirit was fighting against that. My spirit was
Yeah,
saying, what?
not really.
Doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Not really.
Or that it's human nature to fight. And we talk about conflict, yes, but we're not by nature aggressive.
No.
We come out crying, yes, but we don't come out
Yeah.
kidding, you know. We come out looking for love. We come
Yeah.
out needing to be held.
Yeah.
We come out needing connection. And when we don't get that, that's when we get out of nature.
Our true
We're
nature.
not, we're out of our true nature because of generations of trauma have created that, you know, and we have taught ourselves that dominance is leadership, that our leader is going to be the loud one, it's going to be the gutsy one, is
Right.
going to be, the uh the one who can just do whatever.
Yeah.
That's the leader.
Right.
And we used to do that also in South Sudan. I used to ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be in GOS, which is government of South Sudan. And I used to just look at these kids and I'm like, what a disappointment.
All
But it's
things.
not their fault.
You could be.
Not their fault. It's not their fault. It's because people in the government had big cars,
Mm,
had suits, had people opening the doors for them, and people would stop when they came into the room. So we're teaching the kids that dominance is it.
yeah.
Even though when someone comes in like that, a kid would run away and
Right.
hide. They would hide.
Behind a loving
An
adult
adult, yeah,
that they
And
can't.
so it's like, and I think this is one of the things that we keep doing to each other, and also the same, fear the unknown, fear the unknown, fear the unknown, maintain the status quo, maintain what you know. And it's like what we know is terrible. What we know has brought us here.
Mm.
What we know and what we do is not working. And we are insisting in it, within it, we're insisting
Fighting for what
on
you don't want.
it, fighting for what you don't want,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, then what we know can be really bad or little less bad. And we are tolerant people. We are able to, we are resilient. Despite everything, we're resilient. We're constantly healing. Our body's always trying to heal. Our mind is always trying to heal. That's why we keep breathing. That's why we keep breathing.
Yeah.
That's why we keep moving, even though we don't know that consciously breathing and conscious movement can really bring the healing.
Yeah.
We're constantly trying to heal, right? So we can make it, but we're also broken. We're all broken, but
Yeah.
we're not all broken forever. We can heal. We can heal more. We can heal better. We can heal intentionally. But we're broken. Like I see that. So I've also been trying to, we've been doing a lot of movie nights with our girls watching, older movies because movies these days are just so quick. Sometimes I'm like, have you seen this movie if it just came out a few years ago or now? They're like, yeah, I've already seen it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're going back. And when we go back, I
Mm,
realize just, of course, how twisted everything was, right? So we watched Mrs. Doubtfire the other day. Hilarious,
so
you
funny.
know. But then there was a scene where Robin Williams was at the table with this new boss that he wants to work with and do, this character on TV. And this boss is a nice guy. He's portrayed as a nice guy.
Mm,
And they're, sitting and they're at a table and he just basically pours whiskey down Robin Williams' throat,
oh,
right? Because they're just having a good time, having lads just talking. And then Robin Williams is, of course, dressing as a woman and coming back to the table and dressing as a woman and coming back as a table. And he says, do you have lipstick on? Because Robin Williams at that point is already drunk, you
right.
know, forgets to really clean himself up between the table with his family and the table with this guy. And then he's like, oh yeah, I was kissing a woman, the waitress. Yeah, we
Oh
had.
my gosh.
And but then the way they talk about it would not pass today, would not be allowed today, would be kind of like a little bit too
Yeah.
misogynistic, right? And I was watching that and just thinking, but a few years ago, people were like, yeah, 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 it's normal, it's fine.
Right.
You look at a woman and you have all these thoughts. You're able to whistle, you're able to, catcall or whatever, all these things that people didn't sort of pick out and say that's a problem,
Yeah.
you know? And that's just one example. But we've grown up in a world that has allowed so much, and therefore we are broken.
Yeah.
Whether you think women should be treated like that, whether as a woman you think you should be treated like that, which is sort of like the conservative way of thinking, right? In the US right now, or you think no, the liberal way of thinking, no,
Yeah.
you have to be respectful and all of that. But we are all broken in one way or another. Whether we think that's okay, whether we think it's not okay because it happened to us and we didn't like it, or it happened to
Yeah.
my mom, she suffered and like, or it happened to my great grandmother, or it happened to, like the thing is, the world is messed up and people are broken. And within this brokenness, we're trying to punish each other,
Hmm.
within these traumas and within these lenses that we have put on, not through our own fault,
Right.
but because of the way we were brought up,
And
you know, and of course, we know that, okay, what happened to you is not your responsibility, but the healing is yours, right? Is your responsibility. It's
mhm.
your responsibility to heal, to become aware and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's also privileged though.
Yeah.
I'm healed or healing rather because I was, the things that happened to me. But then I was in the US at a particular time and I luckily went to the Center of Mind Body Medicine and, my world changed. I think that is a privilege, that many people may not have.
Mhm.
Um, and it just, so it's all different ways. It's all different ways of looking at it. But how do we look compassionately at the world we have and move from here?
Yeah.
Not try and punish these people and punish that person and, ridicule that. And, like, where do we also start with love
Yeah.
to transform our world? Not from fixing the known, but delving more into the unknown. And in the unknown, actually, is a lot of things that we do know, that we really, really do know, which is when we connect with each other and
Yeah.
when our spirit remembers what deep connection really is, when our spirit remembers what love is, when our spirit remembers that it can heal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The known, the unknown known,
I love
the
that.
unknown we know.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's really this there's this quote from Mahatma Gandhi that I was sharing with you earlier of, when I despair, I remember that all through history the ways of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end they fall. Think of it always. And that's Mahatma Gandhi. And when I despair, I remember all through history the ways of truth and love have always won. And so I think that, there's like the feelings you were talking about earlier, like the feelings are holy and they are sacred. The feelings are there to as messengers and as medicine to say, pay attention, something is wrong, or pay attention, something is right, or pay attention, this is the direction you want to go toward this, or don't go toward that. And um, I think about the meta prayer, of may all beings be peaceful and happy, and may all beings be free of suffering. And we that's what we want. And those of us who want to bring out the healer that lives inside of everyone. We all have a healer that's living inside of us. And I think it just takes someone else who has that healer inside of them to encourage that to bloom and to open and to welcome its own beingness, its own um, emergence. Uh, and so, I think about Rami Shapiro's poem of, there's moments when wellness escapes us, moments when pain and suffering are not dim possibilities, but all too agonizing realities. At such moments, we must open ourselves to healing. Much we can do for ourselves, and what we can do, we must do. What we can do, we must do. Healing, no less than illness, is participatory. But even when we do all we can do, there is often still much left to be done. And so we turn as well to our healers, seeking their skill to aid in our struggle for wellness. But even when they do all they can do, there's often still much left to be done. And we
Mhm.
turn to life, to the vast power of being that animates the universe as the ocean animates the wave, seeking to let go of that which blocks our healing. May those whose lives are gripped in the pain of suffering open, even now, to the wonder of life. May they let go of the hurt and meet the true self beyond pain, the uncarved block that is our joyous unity, I think, with one another and with holiness. May they discover through the pain and torment the strength to live with grace and humor. May they discover through doubt and anguish the strength to live with dignity, through suffering and fear, the strength to move toward healing. But I just love this line of, there are moments when wellness escape us, and at such moments we must open ourselves to healing. And what we can do, we must do. And so we turn to our healers. And so there's still much left to be done. And I always feel that way. I always felt that way. I'm like, oh, that was great. That what just, and then I'm like, but there's still much left to be done. And so I think, just in closing, I'm thinking about, what is it going forward? What is it that we talked a little bit about energy earlier, but what is it? Where can we give our energy, or where can we, what is ancient in us and new in us, that what can be braided together to make something better for everyone? And so what are some ideas you have, Anyieth, about ways forward?
Um, that's yeah, ways forward. I mean, I think the poem that you just read is amazing. Because that's it, it's just this constant, it's the life, right? The back and forth, the learning and unlearning, the growth and,
Mm-hmm.
from immaturity to maturity to experiencing just the chaos and the, to finding peace and satisfaction, to really becoming present, to letting go of stuff and to return to to the mystery, right? Because yeah, once my daughter Seda, when she was very little, she was like, "Mommy, before I was born, where was I?" And I was like,
Guess what? Oh my gosh. That's so
yeah,
great.
but I love that question. And I let it fill me up. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. But I know you were somewhere. And you know you were somewhere. For goodness sake, you know you were
yeah.
somewhere beyond this, beyond this life, beyond these things, beyond this body, you know? Uh, and and then that Rumi poem I
Mm.
read to you about how we're visitors on this earth, just passing through. It's not a direct quote, passing through, and we're here to learn and to grow and to
Mm.
love and to leave again, And if we kind of take that, remove the pressures, you
Mm.
have to do well in school. And we fall and falter all the time. I have a little family and we as parents have difficult times all the time. Sometimes I'm just like the worst parent. Sometimes I feel a little bit better about myself.
Mm.
And sometimes I remember my parents and I think, I wish that never happened. Or I just think, well, they really instilled something beautiful in me that I want to pass on. And sometimes when I want to pass it on, my kids go, no, thank you, you know? So, so that's the thing. It's like the uniqueness of all our experiences and all the things that we're dealing and struggling with, but bringing in the humanness and also the divinity,
Yeah.
right? Of all that that is happening.
Mhm.
And we are passing through this world. We all know that.
Mm.
We're passing through. And
Yeah.
what do we want to leave behind? Bunch of plastic? Well, that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
you know? But
It's the legacy. Yeah.
yeah, you were talking about three global fears: leadership crisis, plague, and war, or plague, war, leadership. We have war,
Hmm.
we have leadership crisis. Every now and then we have a plague, or we may still have a plague. We have many plagues, in fact.
Yeah.
We have many plagues. Um, and so we're just living in this, and right now seems pretty hard because many things we've lived through seem to be coming back. Many
Yeah.
things that we have said, no, we're done with that, seem to be being revived, and people seem very happy to do that, but at the end of the day, I always want to tell myself, no, there must be more. There is more. And I think that more is that connection,
Hmm.
is that if you are able to get all the money in the world and you still look unhappy,
Right.
it's because you thought the money would do that or the power would do that, because you don't necessarily look at these millionaires and billionaires and powerful people and look at them and say, wow, they look so happy,
Yeah.
right? So what do we need in this world, you know? And it's not necessarily happiness, but it's just the aliveness, right? Being alive.
Yeah.
But what does aliveness mean? For many people, of course, you have people who cause pain and trauma to feel alive,
Hmm.
right? How do we heal? How do we heal so that people actually feel more, you know?
Oh, that's so great. How do we heal so people feel more?
Yeah, because that's the driver of war
Yeah. Is the feeling. Yeah.
is the feeling, even though we don't want to talk about feelings. We never want to talk about feelings, but it's the driver and it's the lens. It's the lens we see everything. Um, Looking forward, we talked about sharing power, collaborative power. We talked about uh coming back to ourselves, coming back to nature,
Connect.
just watching
Mhm.
how nature gathers and it evolves, and it never seems lacking until we come and cut down all the trees, for
Yeah.
example,
That's
and like that. But if you look at nature, everything is in perfect balance, right? Um,
knows exactly what
Pray.
it's doing.
Huh?
Knows exactly what it's doing somehow without
Yeah,
our interference.
yeah, there's prey, there's predators, but you never get more of one than the other,
It's balancing.
right? Yeah, there's the balance. There is, in Credo Mutua's book, Indaba My Children, Knowledge My Children,
Mhm.
he says, he talks about killing and hunting, or hunting rather, killing animals, and that no animal um, can be killed without prayer first, and also without it being consumed completely.
Mhm.
Like you cannot kill for fun. It's one of the biggest abominations,
Yeah.
but we've lost those things. So it's a combination of returning to the things that we know to be inherently true. right? And and it's bad. I think about how we treat animals. I think about how we treat nature and and every way that we treat animals and treat nature, we treat ourselves in different times and different places. I think about the current situation is intense and we're full of knowledge. We're full of knowledge, we're full of information. Do we need more information? I don't know. I just feel we need wisdom, but that wisdom also will come from the body, will come from the mind, will come from the spirit more than it will come from the internet.
Right. It's, yeah, we don't
You
need
know,
another soundbite from the, yeah,
yeah, and so it's the way forward, I think, is more connection. The way forward is more walking barefoot. It is more picking your own fruit. It is more, you know,
your own fruit,
uh,
and your own flowers, and your own, yeah,
yeah, picking your own fruit. Or, if my neighbor is not well to pick her own fruit, I can pick some fruit and give her some fruit,
yeah. Share the,
right? Share the fruit. Um, but it's respecting and loving each other. It is allowing,
yeah,
right? For all the things that people have experienced and the path and where they are on the path. Because we're not all in the same space, right? We're not all in the same place. And
mm,
we're all, I also think it would be really beautiful to teach our children different things. Like right now I'm actually we feel like we're actually competing with the internet on bringing up our kids,
yeah,
because there's a number of things that they see or hear about, and it's teaching them, but we don't know what it is,
yeah.
and we don't know where it's coming from, for example. But it's like allowing allowing for errors, allowing for conflict, but not staying there,
Yeah.
you know, and moving forward, um, is, we're also moving into the age of the Aquarius.
Oh, yeah.
So a different way of living, right? Not a top-down approach, but a more non-linear sort of like, or linear, but or
Non-
just sort of like a collaborative
Yes.
model of being. Uh,
Non-hierarchical kind of,
yeah,
yeah.
like how do we respect each other? How do we need each other? Because I would say I'm a leader in many different things, but I can't do it all the time. And
No.
sometimes somebody else would do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do. I just, you do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody
And
who
and
knows.
I think everyone is a leader. Everyone is a leader. And I think if people start to take that ownership and responsibility also for the way the world is.
Yeah.
So let's stop also just sitting and frustrating and just
Mm.
huffing and puffing all over the place and pointing out what's wrong, because there's so many things that we can do. There's so many things that we can do.
And so many things that are right.
Yeah.
In addition
Yeah.
to, and looking at
Yeah.
balancing out some of the, so much is working, even though so much isn't, and so much help and healing. But I love that, the way forward and conflict
Yeah.
resolution and learning some, like just learning how to resolve a conflict, just having
Yeah.
a conversation with another person and just talking until you work it out. Like that's the only way forward as far as, I mean, I don't want to say that, but as far as if we want to, build a new world.
Yeah. And enough with the silent treatments.
Ah, oy vey. Geez.
Because often I'm just like, I don't understand how that really works, except
Mhm.
to not work,
Yeah.
except to just say, I give up. But yeah, keeping communication channels open,
Yeah.
channels open and taking the invitation that conflict brings change, you know, collaboration. But yeah, what do you think? What do you feel is the way forward?
I think collaboration and hearing each other, having councils, building councils, community councils, and family councils, and where everyone is able to share their ideas and everyone chooses a couple of ideas together, and but where we're working together and we're working for, we're serving us, we are serving us and caring for us and those who aren't born yet, um, and I think that we need to be connected with something greater. I think we've lost view. I think we've turned each other, and there we have many, many gods, and those gods are things, and cars and gasoline, and we've made those things into gods, and we need to correct ourselves and you know return to the earth as someone, as a person that we respect, and we have a spiritual relationship with the earth, and we have relationship and intimacy with these other beings and criaturas and trees and plants and other human beings, but really that we are able to, the greater mystery is acknowledged and respected, and however we choose to see that, um, but that we're connected with the divinity in each other and in the world, you um, the other thing is like a code of honor. Like it used to be that, your honor meant something and your name meant something, and, but also that you always had the opportunity um, to correct a mistake or to make something right. And so I think there's also just like letting one another make things right. Letting one another make mistakes, and seeing that as a part of it all, and being able to correct when we make a mistake and learn from it together and celebrate the learning and go into the future together, gathering learnings and making mistakes, letting go of shedding all these identities, you know,
Yeah.
all these roles, all these, you know, just becoming human together again.
Yeah.
Mm,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'd
Mm.
like to. How do you feel about closing with the meta prayer?
Sure.
Do you have any closing words before we close? And it's a new moon, so seed planting. Any seed planting for, you know, everybody to find ways to communicate and to,
I was
yeah.
I was looking at actually this page 90 of that you read earlier. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah, that's great. Would you like to? I love it. If
Sure, Tibetan Buddhist teacher Trungpa Rinpoche. I am my present and my past, so new insights will coexist with antiquated beliefs. Instead of attempting to rid myself of my old beliefs, I simply no longer act on them. I allowed the atavistic beliefs to be present and I act more and more in accord with the new, better informed convictions. I contain new behaviors simultaneously with old beliefs and habits. 1. I accept challenges while still feeling afraid. 2. I trust someone while still doubting. 3. I choose pleasures that may have an element of risk. 4. I let go of punitiveness while still feeling vengeful. 5. I ask for what I want generally while still allowing the strong desire to remain a wish. 6. My self-esteem coexists with occasional self-reproach.
Mm.
7, feel anxious without taking it out on anyone.
That is so good.
Yeah.
So
And
good. That's a great way to start. I think that's a great way to end, honestly. Yeah, that,
yeah, and
mhm,
allow it. Yeah.
mhm.
It's a lot of self-compassion in that.
Yeah.
Compassion and self-compassion, which is what we need.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you, Sha.
oh, what a gift to be with you, Anyieth. I'm so grateful. Yeah, my heart shines and is so full when I'm with you. I'm so grateful for your presence in my life. And thank you for doing this talk with me today. And yeah, please let us know what your thoughts are around love and leadership and healing ideas. And, um, what do you think our way forward is? We're curious. Thank you so much.